Well, who knew September was going to be Batman month?
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror and he is no friend to me.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Pitch This here on the MrEliMac YouTube channel. I'm your host, MrEliMac, and today we are hopping back into the Bat family of this weird little section of the DCU that I'm creating for James Gunn's DCU that will definitely not be used at all by the actual heads of the DCU. And last time we talked about Pitch This, I pitched my version of what I would do with the Brave and the Bold movie that is currently being written, and actually, according to James Gunn, has a really good script. It's just still being written. So now I am hopping into a separate sort of side pocket of it, sort of how after Superman came out, next year we're getting Supergirl, and we're doing something similar to that with Batgirls. That is going to be the movie I'm going to be pitching to you all, and if you notice the S at the end of Batgirls, you know this is more than just a Barbara Gordon movie, or I don't want to fully spoil it. But before I get into the pitch, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way you can be up to date with all the videos I have here on the channel. Also, hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever a new video like this comes your way. So, to start off with the pitch, I am very much establishing that this is similar to the Batgirls run that came out a few years ago, where the main characters were Barbara Gordon, who is sort of still sitting in as Oracle, but it also featured Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown, who are sort of the fellow members of this Batgirls trio. But I very much wanted to have them be the focal point of this film, since I didn't fully have them in the Brave and the Bold movie. That's why very much I said just stick with me if you're fans of Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain, because I really wanted them to feature in their own prominent film, and this is that film. So to start off with the pitch, it would start off with a flashback of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl in her prime, fighting off against some villains, being energetic, hopeful, unstoppable, and then we would smash cut to the present where Barbara is Oracle in the clock tower. She's very much working along in the ear of Batman and the other members of the Bat family, but she's a little bit more hardened. We're finally getting a little bit more of an explanation of her character than we did in Brave and the Bold, because in that one she was more just, oh, I'm the person in the chair helping everyone out with this. In this film we're actually going to be exploring more of that, and we would even have a scene with Jim Gordon where they're reflecting on the past. I want very much that Jim Gordon knows that Barbara was Batgirl, because I don't want to have the drama of Jim doesn't know, but then he discovers and he's very upset with Bruce. Like, no, he knows that Barbara was Batgirl. After she got injured, he discovered the secret, but she very much was like, look, this was my choice. And as they're reflecting on the past, Barbara says to Jim while reflecting on the past, we don't get to choose where we come from, but we do choose who we fight for. And that's sort of the main thesis and theme of you're more than your past, and it's your choices that define who you are, because that's very important to Stephanie and Cassandra in the story. And for the main setup of the film, Gotham is sort of reeling from a lot of cyber crimes, because in this film I'm just having Batman's busy doing another thing with some other people, but this is very much these three women that are the main characters, and a lot of cyber crimes are happening, and that's when Oracle is beginning to suspect our main antagonist, Noah Cutler, aka the Calculator. I very much wanted the main antagonist to be a character that is a major antagonist to Oracle, and the Calculator is sort of that character for her. And I didn't want it to be just another, oh, we're having Black Mask be the main antagonist. We had Black Mask be the main antagonist of Birds of Prey. I wanted it to be a different antagonist, and I think Calculator is very much a good antagonist for Oracle, especially since they're both very similar in their tactics. And we have Commissioner Gordon investigating some of the things on the ground and sort of trying to work with Barbara in this instance. But then we meet Cassandra Cain, who is a silent, stalking vigilante who is going after criminals on her own, but is very violent but efficient in her goals. She's able to fight off against all these different criminals. She's very violent, and she's very well trained in the martial arts, and we'll explain that later. And we also meet Stephanie Brown, who's a little bit more clumsy in the way she's going about her vigilantism, but she's determined in doing what she's doing to help people, very much operating as spoiler for the very first time. But she also has a hard life with her family. Not a really hard life, but sort of like, I very much am introducing the idea of her father was a criminal to Batman. He was Clue Master, but he is someone that has reformed, who's trying to do better with his life. Again, going with the idea that I put in The Brave and the Bold of, this is a Batman that's wanting to try to reform criminals, and I want that theme to come over here to where Arthur Brown, Clue Master, is someone that did reform, and he's trying to do better, but because of his criminal past, it's hard for him to get what he really wants out of life. And so, to try to make sure he doesn't go down that path, Stephanie is a vigilante as the spoiler. And Cassandra and Stephanie do eventually meet, but they both clash with each other on the streets of Gotham while trying to stop one of Calculator's scheme, being very awkward in the teamwork with what they're doing, but like, it's not working as a team. And so, after that little meeting, they both go their separate ways. And we do see with the Calculator for the catalyst of the film, where Calculator shuts down major portions of Gotham's grid in a test run blackout, and chaos is spreading throughout this section of Gotham, and Oracle realizes that he's escalating to do something bigger, and she does eventually realize that these two vigilantes of Spoiler and Cassandra, who is very much going by Black Bat or Orphan, whichever one, I'm not really sold on either one. I like Black Bat specifically, but she's just going by just a very simple uniform in this, and she's able to contact both of them, and she's debating whether to bring these two girls together and fight with them or keep them out of the fight. And that's when Stephanie discovers that Barbara is actually the one behind them coming together a bit, and she's very insistent on, no, let's help, let's work together, let's work and try to stop this thing, because she's wanting to prove that she can be a real hero. And Cass is very much staying silent for a majority of this, and her presence shows that she isn't going away either. Like, she's very much like, the best way I can describe it is her very posture, and the way she is saying some of her lines is very much like, look, I really don't want to be a part of this, but if we're going to be doing this, let's do it together as a team. And while neither girl trusts the other yet, both are creating sort of a circle of a team, or a triangle of a team, with Barbara as their reluctant mentor. And then that's when we get into the three of them creating a loose alliance when they attempt to intercept Calculator's next move. But on this mission, they face Zeiss, who is very much the physical threat of it. And Zeiss is a character from the comics who is very similar to Taskmaster. Like, the Zeiss's abilities are very similar to Taskmaster, of just can mimic your abilities. And I wanted Zeiss to be the physical threat because, again, I didn't want to use Victor Zsasz or another character that has been used in a movie already. And Zeiss is someone that's very obscure enough to be like, yeah, he can work to be that physical threat. And he is a Batman villain. He is a character that has fought Batman, and he's got roboticness in him. And so, as they're fighting Zeiss, he just wipes the floor with him, especially Cassandra. Like, he's able to read Cassandra like a book. Like, as if he has been trained already, even though he can mimic abilities. Like, it's sort of like he's been trained in the way of her fighting style. And then this is sort of when we would get the introduction of the B story of Cass struggling with her identity, because we start discovering that her mom is Lady Shiva, who was in The Brave and the Bold, and her trying to determine whether she is her mother's daughter. Steph is struggling with her legacy because she's trying to escape her father's shadow, like the shadow of a criminal. She's trying to get out of that shadow. And Barbara is struggling with control. Like, is she willing to trust others in this fight? Yes, she is willing to trust people like Bruce and Dick and Tim and Damian, because they have their stuff together. They're put together. And now here are two girls that have not had proper training. They are not like the Bat family. And so she's like, I don't know if I can really trust them. And then we get into some fun and game elements, like that's the best way that can be described, and it's a trial run of the Batgirls as they try and fail on various missions, bickering and mistrusting each other, and Oracle attempts to guide them remotely, but she's becoming frustrated every single time. She's trying to get them to listen to her, but they're not really listening to her. But in some lighthearted moments, Steph is trying to get Cass to loosen up, and Cass is just slightly judging her. Like Stephanie, of the trio, Stephanie is the more lighthearted of the three, and she's the one that's very much like, hey, we can do this, thumbs up. And Cass is like, okay, whatever. But a bond is slowly starting to form between despite the differences, a bond is starting to form between the two of them specifically, and Barbara's starting to realize this, and she's like, oh, this could actually work. And then when we get to the midpoint of the movie, we sort of get a false victory, and where they score a small win against Calculator's networks, thinking that they've slowed him down. But immediately after that, the Calculator is able to hack into the clock tower, nearly exposing Oracle's identity and forcing Barbara to abandon her safe haven. And then that's when the stakes start to escalate drastically. Like everything she thought she had to be safe and protected, that's now out the window because of the Calculator. And then at that point, the bad guys begin to close in as Calculator accelerates his plans, now threatening Gotham's entire communication grid, and Zeiss begins hunting them down, specifically almost killing Cass in a skirmish. And after that, she feels broken and let down, and Steph is also defeated, and they both sort of go to their safe havens of sort, where Steph is going to talk to her dad, and she's talking to her dad about how she feels useless, how she doesn't feel like she's able to do any good, like people only look at her as the daughter of Arthur Brown, the daughter of the Clue Master. And her dad is like, look, I understand that you're sort of stuck in this little rut because of me, but you shouldn't let my legacy push you to feeling worthless. You're not worthless. You're actually better than me. You're better than all of us. And I think because of the good that you're doing, you're going to be cleaning the slate clean for what I have done. And Cass even goes visit Lady Shiva in prison, like secretly. No one is able to see Cass. And there Shiva delivers a chilling line to her daughter saying, you'll never be a hero, you'll always be my weapon. Sort of very much establishing that Cass was trained by Shiva to be this force of nature, this quick, precise weapon, and Cass just doesn't want to be that, and it pushes her to a breaking point about whether she'll accept that fate or prove her mother wrong. And there gets another point of an all is lost moment where Zeiss is able to find Cass after the meeting and nearly kills her again, and it begins echoing Shiva's words, but Steph is able to come in and help a little bit, but they're both shaken. They're both doubting each other, and they get into an argument with each other, and Barbara is beginning to doubt her leadership, and the team is fully fractured at this moment. But then there's a moment where Cass begins reflecting on her mother's words, and she realizes that she doesn't have to be her mother. She doesn't have to be that weapon, and Steph admits that she feels like people look at her and just Clue Master's kid, and this kid of a criminal. And Barbara admits that she's scared of losing them, like how she lost being Batgirl. She doesn't want to lose these two girls to a senseless crime by some maniac. She doesn't want them to lose themselves to this. And the three finally open up to each other, realizing that they are stronger together. And the team embrace their roles as a team for the first time finally, as Barbara leads from the clock tower, or from a separate safe haven, because the clock tower is sort of where the final set piece is going to be. And Steph is able to hatch a plan to get them inside of the clock tower, and Cass resolves to fight her way, and not Shiva's way. And finally we get the big finale, which is Barbara versus the Calculator, which is them the brains are fighting against each other, where Calculator is launching a full-scale blackout, hijacking Gotham's infrastructure, and Oracle engages with him in a cyber duel, a battle of code, strategy, and misdirection, and he mocks her paralysis, saying she's half a Batgirl, but Barbara is able to fight back, saying, I don't need legs to outrun you. That could change, that could be a line that could be changed, but it's a filler line. And she ultimately initiates her intimate knowledge of Gotham's systems to trap him in his own code, flipping his blackout plan back on him and exposing his location to the police department. And Oracle wins alone, proving she doesn't need to be Batgirl to matter. And then we get into the clock tower fight with Cass and Steph versus Zeiss, which is the more brawn fight. And Zeiss is prowling the clock tower during this blackout, trying to make sure no one is affecting everything, because the clock tower is sort of where the system is being pinged from. So Calculator is in his own hideout, the clock tower is where he's directing everything from, and then that's how the blackout is happening. And Zeiss is making sure that no one affects it. And he's even expecting Cass to be there alone, and Cass confronts him, but this time Steph is with her. And Zeiss underestimates Steph as the amateur, and Cass and Steph combine their strengths against Zeiss. Cass reads Zeiss's moves, but disrupts his patterns with Steph's unpredictability, and Steph distracts and improvises, forcing Zeiss into mistakes Cass can exploit, and they fight together as one, flowing together instead of stepping on each other. And the final takedown being Steph faking a misstep that lured Zeiss into overcommitting into a move, and Cass counters decisively, and the team both defeat him. And then we get into the resolution of the film with Gotham's lights flickering back on as Oracle reboots the grid. Jim Gordon arrests Calculator, acknowledging the unseen allies that helped win the night. Cass and Steph regroup, battered but triumphant, and Barbara proudly calls them Batgirls. And sort of Shiva's words begin to echo faintly in Cass's mind, but Cass rejects them, and Steph very much takes the acknowledgement from her father of being like, look, you're not going to be in my shadow. The good that you're doing is going to overshadow my darkness. And sort of with this, it's sort of true. The good that she did is overshadowing the evil that he did. And they've all found sort of a family with each other. And it ends with the three Batgirls standing together in the clock tower, overlooking Gotham's skyline, lit back up. Once unproven individuals, they are now a team, a family forged in dark. And sort of Stephanie and Cassandra in their own versions of Batgirl costumes, with Stephanie sort of being a mixture of the spoiler purple with the purple bat symbol on her chest, and Cassandra being more in the black bat costume with sort of a yellow outline on her suit, and Barbara just being there in the clock tower, ready to go and continue on helping people. And that's the Batgirls movie that I had. I know I was a little all over the place with the plotting out, but I very much want Batgirls to sort of be the movie that punctuates the importance of Barbara Gordon as Oracle and the importance that Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown have as Batgirls. And both of them are sort of the same age as Tim Drake at this point. And I had an idea of having Tim Drake have a cameo or have a bit part in this movie. I just didn't know where to perfectly fit him. And I think it works best without him, because then we get to focus on these characters of Stephanie and Cassandra and Barbara. We have Jim Gordon playing a little bit more of a role, since I didn't really mention him a lot in The Brave and the Bold. In this movie, he's more of a character because, again, he is Barbara Gordon's dad, so it just works better for him to serve more of a prominent role in this film than in The Brave and the Bold. And yeah, I just think that having a Batman, Bat Family movie in The Brave and the Bold works to set up a Batgirls movie over here. Again, sort of like how there's a Superman movie and then there's a Supergirl movie. That's sort of the first idea that I had. And yeah, that was my pitch for Batgirls. What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent to it? Whatever your thoughts, post them in the comments down below. Next time, I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet, so just keep your eye out for what I could be doing next week for the Pitch This or maybe a MrEliMac rants. But whatever your thoughts, post them in the comments down below. Also, again, don't forget, if you want to support me, you can go over to my Patreon. If you want priority, that's the $15 tier, and it will go at the front of the line. And also, you can have your little quirks or whatever you want in the pitch. But again, remember, if you want to support me, the best way is through Patreon. Link will be in the description. But until next time, I've been MrEliMac, you've been the audience, and I hope you all remember to have a great rest of the day.